You just press play on the Last Breath Huntcast, home of the Huntroversy. We're here to entertain, educate, and engage. And in case you didn't know, you only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough. Don't waste it.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Don't know when you're listening, but I'm happy you're here. This is Garrett with the Last Breath Huntcast. Across from me is Grant.
Yo.
Today we are talking about trail cameras, and there's actually a lot of news buzzing about trail cameras right now. So before we start, we got to pay the bills. Mr. Putnam, who makes this podcast possible?
Well, our podcast is presented by Badlands Gear. So for anything site-wide Badlands Gear related, you can use our 30% off code if you're interested in getting some apparel, hunting gear, hats, what have you for yourself. So that way you can be decked out in something that is covered under lifetime warranty, which I think is the most impressive thing. There's no other camo company in the industry that covers a lifetime warranty on their product. So that's why I really enjoy it. And I've taken advantage of that lifetime warranty. So have you, so has Matt, so has Jesse, and nothing but good things to say. So for anything related to Badlands, check them out at badlandsgear.com.
That is correct. And if you're interested in, don't forget we've got a discount code for you. Just hit us up. If you're part of the inner circle, you can fire us a message or you can shoot us a message, any of our direct social media outlets, and we will get you that code. Also want to let you know we've got a fat code for Outdoor Edge. So if you're looking to upgrade your cutlery or maybe pick up some replacement blades, any of the above, again, we've got a pretty healthy discount code for Outdoor Edge knives and tools.
25% off. It's LBTV25, all uppercase. So anything site-wide.
That is... I mean, that's a solid discount, man. 25%, 30%. That's enough to like push me over the edge. We just had Father's Day, right? And a lot of the Father's Day big site-wide deals were like 20%. Mm-hmm. So we're above and beyond that. And again, it's just designed to be there to help you save some money. These are not limited time use. You know, obviously at the end of the year they'll expire, but you got some time. So just write them down, put them in your notepad, put them in your phone, and if you need to get some gear, upgrade your gear, replace some stuff, you'll have it in your cache. But really quick, we want to just highlight and allude to the Last Breath launch party. We're going to beat you to death about this because it is the culmination of our season. We are so excited. Grant and I were at the Adler a couple weeks ago, finalizing all of the details to the contract and the event, and man, it's going to keep getting bigger every year, and we're going to do our best to make it more impressive and give back to the community and you guys. And this year, man, we are setting the bar high. I mean, it's going to be awesome.
We're challenging you to drink all of our free beer this year. So in the past, we've got...
I don't think it's going to be an issue. We got more beer than ever before. I mean, we have kegs and kegs and kegs of free beer, but the crowd that we draw, man, they have some very, very in-shape livers, and there's plenty of people that I know that are coming that can drink me under the table. So it's going to be a good time.
Yep, and that's Friday, July 23rd at the Adler Theater in Davenport, Iowa. You can pick your tickets up at 3 locations in Iowa. That's Mills Chevrolet, Shields in Iowa City, and Tompkins Taxidermy in Muscatine. You can also pick up free tickets in Illinois from Blessed by Nature in Aledo, Griswold Archery in Cameron, Illinois, and Easy Living in Milan. But quick disclaimer before we get rolling here. These tickets are going to be gone pretty quickly. Starting this Friday, we have a lot of pretty aggressive radio ads going out to about 700,000 listener base. So you're going to want to grab those tickets if you haven't already. By my count, we've got about 1,500 tickets given out of our quota. So we're about halfway empty here, and we still have about 4 weeks till the event. So you're going to want to go and get those.
Well, it's even more
quickly
than
that. As quickly as possible.
You know, I mean, I'm looking at all of our personal stacks, and they're dwindling down. I had a friend of mine be like, he's like, I'll just pick them up from you later. And I was like, dude, seriously, like if you don't have a ticket, we can't let you in, period, the end. Because the tickets are designed that if we have 100% attendance, we have max capacity. Mm-hmm. We actually padded it a little bit by a couple hundred tickets because some are going to get lost. So you might have something come up that day where somebody can't show up. But when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of it, I mean, we can't let people in without tickets, and we can't over put the Adler at overcapacity, because then it comes into a whole nother ball and dance of liability. So long story short, if you haven't gotten a ticket, you want to come, please do it. We'd love to have you there. Now, jumping into episode 103, we're talking about trail cameras. And as I said before, man, we got a lot to talk about. We don't have a ton of time. We're going to have Mark Olis on from Moultrie here in about 20 or 30 minutes to talk about the new Delta Cam. So if you guys are interested in just educating yourself on that new camera particularly, or some cellular camera information, stick around. But right now, we're going to talk about how we use trail cameras to really put us into a better position come whitetail season. We use them almost year-round, I would say. There's a couple months here in that late summer or late spring, early summer that we don't push them hard, but we still run them. But getting into the next couple months is when shit starts getting real. We're really going to start cataloging the deer, starting to try to get some movement pinned down, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and kind of a if X and Y relationship, ever since the evolution of cell cameras and cell camera technology, that's kind of played our hand, because typically when you pay for these data packages, it'll be like an annual contract. So if you're paying for the data anyway, then why not run a camera all year long?
Correct.
So for instance, right now, we just picked up our number 2 hit list buck the other day on one of our farms, on June 16th, the morning of June 16th. So he's filling out really nicely, made a big jump this year, and we're really excited to see later in July what he fills out to. But that's just kind of, a window dressing type thing. But by virtue of having a cellular camera and buying that annual plan, like if you're going to pay for it, then why just put it in a closet? You might as well use it if you're going to pay for it.
Correct.
In my opinion.
I agree. So starting it off, I do want to start this with a little bit of like a controversial twist. Recently, as of very recently, Arizona banned all trail cameras as of January 1st, 2022. This is the last hunting season that they're allowed, period, the end. Not just cell cameras, every trail camera.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude. Like, blows my mind. And it's also interesting to see the amount of people that support it. And I'm not, to each your own, right? There's just, I think that we've talked about it before. I think trail cameras are one of the most revolutionary things, specifically hunting whitetails, to hit the industry. Archery's come a long way and gear's come a long way, yes, but we've talked about it before. Trail cameras is a difference of shooting the first nice deer that comes out or waiting for the deer. Like, you don't know what's out there. Really, you don't. You can. There's ways to do it, but you just don't know what type of age structure you have, what caliber of deer you have or animals you have without trail cameras. We talked to Pat and Ray, a couple of people that we look up to as hunters. They're family of ours. Pat is our father-in-law. Ray is our, I guess, would be uncle-in-law. And they talked about how before trail cameras, you didn't know there were big deer around because you hardly ever see them, right? Most big deer get shot the first time that they're seen.
Right. Yeah.
Matt said it, tried and true. The first time I see the hit list, one of the deer that I want to kill, is the time that I kill them. Because you get those opportunities so rare, it's not like you see them time and time and time again.
Can't let them slip by.
And so when you talk to these guys who hunted before trail cameras were even around, it changed how they hunted. And they've shot mega giant deer, not big deer, mega giant deer.
Multiple 200-inch deer, multiple booners.
Yeah, and it's like, well, we knew to wait for them because we knew they were out there. Mm-hmm. It changed the way that we hunted for what deer we hunted, because then we had the ability to hold off. So it'll be quite interesting to see how that affects Arizona. And Arizona is, it's a western state. It's a lot of elk and mule deer, which those are a lot harder to pattern and get pictures of during hunting season, I think, with trail cameras. During the summer on water holes or wallows and early fall, I think it can be really beneficial. But in the mountains, and those animals are so nomadic, it'll just be interesting to see how it changes, and it'll be interesting to see what other states attempt to adopt it. Just a little bit of information about it. There were 52 speakers that came to it. Most of them, if not all of them, were hunters. I believe that there was 32 of them that spoke against the ban, and then there was 18 that spoke for it. Ultimately, the panel voted 5-0 to ban the trail cameras. Wow, it's just who would have thought that could happen? And it also goes into, okay, where does it stop, right? Where do you draw the line for an edge? The whole point of it was giving hunters too much of an advantage. And I agree that at some point in time, technology will probably be at our access to kind of, whoa, that's getting a little edgy, right? But when do they ban ozone? Or when do they ban scent eliminator? Or when do they ban, guns that can shoot a mile? How do you dictate that and stuff? But until then, we're just going to stick with trail cameras. Little controversy tad over. We can pick this up. You guys want to hear more. Back to what we can use, because in Illinois,
floodgates are open still.
Floodgates are open. So, Mr. Putnam, lay it on them.
Okay, so the first thing that we have to cover here before we hop on the phone with Mark is what we look for in a trail camera, specifically when we are looking at a trail camera to hang in a specific location. What specs does it need to have? So let's begin with a scrape first. So when we're looking on a scrape, number one, you don't have to have the highest trigger speed on planet Earth to hang a camera over a scrape. Typically, historically, you and I have hung our mid to low grade cameras over scrapes, unless we're looking for a really crispy video to add to an episode or something. Then we'll throw one really nice Cadillac camera on like that scrape line so we can pick up that deer and that's high quality, high resolution video. But other than that, we're looking for something that could have up to a 1 or a 1.5 second trigger speed. Nothing too fast, because a buck, when he's in a scrape and he's performing the act of raking his head through the licking branches, he's pawing up the dirt, he's peeing in the scrape, you have a lot of time there. A buck could be at that scrape for 10 seconds. He could be at the scrape for 10 minutes. Nobody knows, but you do have the advantage and the luxury of time, so you could devote a mid to lower grade camera over a scrape. Now on a trail, Jake Hofer and I, one of my friends, he and I talked about this quite frequently, and he believes that certain trail cameras you can face perpendicular to a trail, meaning if you have a trail that runs from left to right, you can face a trail camera north, directly perpendicular with the path, and get an image of the deer that way. You're going to want a pretty fast trigger speed to be able to pull that off, depending on whether or not it's on video or photo mode. That's also going to indicate, but you and I are of the opinion where we kind of like to angle a trail camera down the trail, so that way we can let's cut to this is kind of a side tangent here, but the reason that you and I hunt, we're kind of in that trophy hunter stage. I mean, I don't want that to sound bad or anything, but that's the stage of hunting that we're in. And to see a deer from the side, a side angle of them is probably, in my opinion, the least impressive, the least knowledge you can gain on what a deer's got in the rack department, which is why you and I like to face them down the trail so you can get a frontal view, and so that way you can get a good view of his brisket and stuff like that. So I think it kind of depends on where your goal is and the location of the camera is on what the specs of that are. So on a trail, for instance, when we're only looking at like photos, we're going to devote a camera that's maybe a little nicer, maybe has a little faster trigger speed. And to kind of debunk some of the trail cameras out there that are going to like 4K resolution, 6K resolution right now, I don't think that it's really necessary to do that. And lots of those trail cameras that are offering those 4 and 6K resolutions, here's what you have to understand. It's 4 and 6K by like 15 or 20 frames a second. What that means is every second you're getting basically a continuous run of images, which is what a video ends up being, of like 16 to 20 images. So when you watch a video, more times than not, it's either at 30 frames or 60 frames. So these cameras that are advertising 4 and 6K, yes, they're going to be pretty crispy, but to slow it down frame by frame and take a good look at a deer, let's say he's running past the camera, you are going to have some black spots. You're going to have some blotches within that video where the slower amount of frame rates are going to break it up. So
my thing is, and then great, if a camera company has an ability to do that, it's fantastic. But I just feel like as a consumer, I'm paying for something I don't need, right?
Yeah, it's very unnecessary.
It's kind of like having a minivan that can go 200 miles an hour. You know what I mean? It's like... that's cool. Wow, that minivan goes fast, but I don't need it to. A minivan's just designed for hauling kids around. This is generally speaking, right? So what I look for in a camera is foremost, bar none, more than anything, is just reliability. Everybody's had good experiences, bad experiences with cameras or companies. Some more good experiences or bad experiences than others. But when it comes down to it, I just want a camera that I can put out and that I know in 2, 3, 4 weeks I can come back and I can check it and it's going to have done what I want it to do. Mm-hmm. When you talk about specs again too, I don't need to see every hair on his face.
Nope.
I just want to be able to distinguish, what that deer is or what caliber that deer is, and try to get an estimate of age, caliber, and class.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the other stuff that comes along with direction that he's going and time of day and the other stuff that's pretty standard. I will note that we do like running video. I think you can absorb a lot of information on a video over a photo, especially when you're talking about scrapes
And I think we've killed lots of deer by virtue of running our cameras on video too.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a couple of bucks particularly. We killed one last year. We killed one 3 years ago that were just very hyper aggressive bucks that were posturing to other deer within the camera frame, that were scaring smaller, less subordinate bucks off. And using that knowledge, using that aggression that they have pent up within themselves, you can put yourself in a scenario where, you think you know where he's bedding, you think you know where he's living, and you can call him up and out of there by simulating a fight, grunt sequence, a rattling sequence, what have you.
Yeah, so I think talking about some trail camera things that we do to help better your experience, our experience with cameras is running quality batteries. And I say quality because I'm not going to be the guy to tell you got to spend $20 a camera on lithiums. Do we use them? Yes. And specifically, we use them more so on our cellular devices than the other ones. But if you can afford it, I think you won't have any issues with it. We've had a lot of great success and a lot of good things coming from running lithiums. And to educate you guys a little bit, the difference between an alkaline battery and a lithium battery is lithiums don't have any liquid. Alkaline has liquid. That's why you have battery acid that if your battery explodes, ruins your devices. So as the molecules slow down, specifically in the colder temperatures of winter, your amperage is much lower. Where in a lithium battery, they're I don't want to say non-affected, but they're virtually non-affected with the temperature swings that we have in the Midwest and across most of the continental U.S. So I think where we really try to utilize those lithiums is closer to late season when we're keying in on those late season deer, and we want to make sure that our camera's generating images so we can pick them up. That's important. But also, another trick is that batteries are not all the same, and you can tell by the weight. So like most batteries are nickel cadmium, and they're alkaline, and they have their battery fluid in there. So if you pick up a package of batteries, right? Let's say you go to Walmart and there's the generic off-brand battery. You pick up that package and you pick up a package of the same quantity of energizers. I'd be willing to bet that the energizers are going to be quite a bit heavier. So I'm not saying you got to go quite there. Speaking honestly, we found that the Menards 48 pack of Rayovac batteries seems to be the best budget batteries that we've been able to run.
Alkaline batteries,
mm-hmm. Correct. It seems that they have a lot of output. They last pretty long, and we haven't, knock on wood, had any issues with them busting or bursting and ruining the device. So just as a tip, if you pick up batteries and it's super light, you know that you probably don't have a lot of actual battery there, that you have more of a hollow core, and you're not going to have as much power. Quality SD cards. I don't need to tell you, you're the tech guru. Getting into a bigger SD card, one that reads a little faster, you're going to have way less issues with it.
And this is not necessarily so critical if you are just running your trail cameras on photo mode. But if you are going to be running large quantities of HD video, meaning you're going to choose the 30 or the 1 minute option for video, if you choose to leave your camera on that setting, you are going to want an SD card with a high write speed. Lots of times, videos will be cut short, videos will turn black, and that is simply because the camera, and the best analogy I can give you guys is a water hose. Picture an outside faucet on your house, and you're going to try to fill up a pool. Well, if you pressurize that with like a fire hose amount of water and try to force that data down that hose, there's going to be problems. And that's essentially what's happening when you're taking a trail camera that's outputting high quality, really long length HD video, and you're forcing it onto, let's say, a SanDisk like $8 SD card you get from Walmart with the write speed that is very slow. So it's really easy to tell how good or bad the write speed is. It'll say Mbps, megabytes per second, and then it'll give you a reading on the front of the SD card, or most likely on the front of the packaging. And if you are going to want to run video, I would recommend you go for like the SanDisk Extreme or something of greater, like when you got at least 60 Mbps per second of write speed.
Yeah.
If you go lower than that, though, you could be at risk on video mode of, having errors there with the amount of videos you're collecting, the data that's being presented on the camera when you go and check it.
Yep. So I'm going to use the same analogy as a car, right? I think with batteries and SD cards, think of your camera as your car, your sports car, right? And if you run cheap gas, you're going to get lower performance. Most sports cars, if you have a nice sports car, it wants ethanol-free, high-octane stuff. So similar to cameras, what you put into it is kind of going to dictate, I think, your experience with it. You go with low-quality batteries and low-quality SD cards. You allow yourself an opportunity for some error. The last thing I want to talk about for great experience with trail camera, really briefly, is the Moultrie trail camera bag. I love that thing. We use it all the time.
Yep.
Even if you're not a Moultrie user, this thing, it holds your cameras, it protects them.
They're one of the only camera companies out there to have this bag specifically built for trail cameras, so that way it's not dinking around in your backpack. Lots of guys that I know that run a high volume of trail cameras, they'll have a trail camera backpack where they'll put a bunch of trail cameras and they'll wrap up their straps nice and neat. But in this bag, I mean, it's like a organized small closet for your trail cameras. Every little pocket is built for an SD card, for batteries, or for the camera bodies themselves, so that way the faces aren't knocking against each other, the components aren't hitting against one another. It's quiet when you're walking around, and it's comfortable to wear.
And I like the fact that the strap's thought out so that, it's a single strap, but when you wrap it around your body, it actually sits in front of you like a shelf, so you can open it up, and similar like a fly fishing bag, when you spin it around, you can let go of it, and you got your pouch hands free. Moving along to, we got 7 minutes here and we got a lot to talk about.
And lots of people, going back to the SD cards and the batteries, I think Byron did an interesting video on this. It was like last summer. He called it, I believe, the real cost of trail cameras. And I thought he did a good job of laying out the invisible costs that people don't really take into consideration, like the gas that's required to go check a trail camera, the batteries that are required to keep it running, the SD card costs, etc. And I was thinking about that video and I was like, I thought he did it really well and, populated his data and showed it really well. But my thought on trail cameras is kind of the same as you is, what's your price for killing a big deer that you want to kill? For me, that's why we run a shitload of them. We run a lot of batteries that are high quality and a lot of SD cards that are high quality, and have a lot of high qualany cameras that we take really good care of, because I can't really put a price on that necessarily myself, but I thought I wanted to mention that because I really liked that video. How many do we use?
I think it just depends on the farm, right? There's no magic number, and we've kind of touched base on this before in previous podcasts. I think that the more cameras you have, it's not going to hurt you. There are arguments out there that people say that deer pick up on cameras. And I'm not going to say that we haven't had deer look at cameras every once in a while, but as cameras have gotten better, they're quieter, they're no IR, low IR,
way
flash.
Less suspicious to the deer.
And we use, I would say on average, and this is a generality, I would probably say close to one camera every 15 acres. If I were to put just how many cameras per acre do you use, like one camera per 15 acres. That's me thinking off the top of my head of the farms that we hunt. Now, that's going to change depending on the topography, the layout, the amount of woods to ag that you have. But just generally speaking, I would say on a 100-acre farm that we hunt, we have anywhere from, 7 to 10 cameras on it, varying, depending on the time of the year and so on and so forth.
And that's going to change with time of year as well. And I agree with you. And in education, there's actually this called the margin dollar principle. And it's basically saying if every child has $1 in their pocket, how is that dollar best spent? So know your farm. For example, Matt and Jesse hunt a 70-acre chunk. They've killed probably a dozen bucks on it in the last 6 or 7 years. It is a pass-through. It is the definition of a funnel. They only have 2 cameras on that farm, and that's because they know where the deer are going to be, and there's really one way for the deer to work their way through it. And so they don't need to be going by that 10 or 15 acres per camera principle that we just laid out. That's, like you said, a very general thing that we do. So know your farm, and if there's not a lot of timber on it, then there's not a lot of area to hang up a trail camera or find a scrape line or whatever, then you don't need to litter it with an excessive amount of cameras. So the margin dollar principle, going back to it, put your camera in the best spot in which it's going to be efficient. For example, you and I, before we feathered our edge, we would have, 2 or 3 trail cameras lining the edge of our big late season food plot on the heaviest trails. But now that we have our edge feathered, there's only a need for one camera because deer have to go in and out of that particular trail. So know your farm and know the amount of cameras that you can get by with and still keep really good tabs on all the intel that you're collecting.
So we've got about a couple minutes here until we call Mark. A couple of things I want to talk about really quick before we call him is photo organization. I think this sometimes is overlooked. You'll get a picture of a big deer and you'll put it on your phone so you can share with your buddies or something. But we're type A already. But I think if you start breaking it down, cataloging your photos, start by year and then by farm and then by deer if you want to name them or however you want to organize it, it allows you to look at things that sometimes you take for granted. And we've got a really cool series with Moultrie called The Image Autopsy. It's both on our channel and theirs. And we break down how we do this and really how by organizing our data and looking at it, we've been able to analyze things, pick up patterns, pick up characteristics of deer, personalities of deer, and use it to our advantage to become more successful in the field. So I think to start looking at your data starts with good organization. And, like I said, we just have a trail camera folder, and then it's subcategorized into years, then by farms, and then by the deer, and being able to look back at them or look at current data and change it by date that it was created or time that it was created, you can start picking up patterns. The other thing is I want to talk about, I remember this vividly. I was in college. My roommate Aaron Ahone and I were sitting here watching Greg Ritz, and he's like, I always keep an extra trail camera around in case I see some fresh sign. And I don't remember the show or whatever, but he came across a scrape and he pulled one out and we looked at each other like, yeah, like we got extra cameras. Like, yeah. We do now, though.
Yeah, we do.
And it's like, I get it. It's totally budget sensitive. You spend $50, $100 or $150 more on a trail camera. You're like, there's no way I'm just going to hold on to it.
Right.
But, man, we've been creating a habit of reserving a couple cameras that we hold back because as sign does change, especially in those golden 4 weeks from like the 20th of October till like the 20th of November, if we come across something that's fresh or looks white hot, we throw a camera on it. Mm-hmm. And we want to know who's doing it and what time and when. Is he doing it consistently? I remember that, like, we looked at like, you're fucking nuts, dude. There's no way I'm just going to keep a camera in my bag. And here we are 10 years later
doing it. I think we should cover the rest of these things after we get off the phone with Mark. So you ready to give him a call?
Yeah, it's on the button. Time to give him a call. Mark's a good guy, so a little bit of context, and he'll give you his 30-second story. But Mark works for Moultrie, actually Pradco Outdoor Brands. Knows a lot about the new Moultrie Delta Cam and about the app itself. It's pretty intuitive, and we wanted to just have him here, so you hear it from the horse's mouth. Let's give him a buzz.
Hello.
Mr. Mark, hello. You're on the Huntcast. It's me, Garrett, and then across from me is Grant. How are you today?
Man, I am great. How are you guys?
Doing pretty well. We're excited to have you on. The listeners are excited to kind of hear it straight from the horse's mouth about the Delta Cam. You are down south in Alabama, right?
That's right. Yeah, we're Pradco, the parent company of Moultrie Mobile. We're located here in the Birmingham, Alabama area.
Nice. So before we get into the Delta Cam and the new Moultrie mobile app and all the great things about it, why don't you introduce yourself, anything that you want to highlight or accolade, so the listeners kind of get to know who you are.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I've grown up hunting in the South and in Alabama mostly. I've been with Pradco, which is again Moultrie Mobile's parent company for about 3 years now. And prior to that, I was an outdoor editor on a number of popular outdoor hunting magazines. Whitetail Journal would be one your listeners would probably be familiar with. And so deer hunting, deer and turkey, that's really the two that I target the most. Those are obviously the abundant species here in the South and Alabama. And so, yeah, I hunt on a piece of property that myself and a couple buddies and family members, we manage, and we do, all the food plots and stand prep and everything. So, we're definitely hardcore weekend warriors. We all have our day jobs and family duties, but we really live for hunting and just spending time outdoors and everything like that. So it's definitely a big passion and big part of my life.
Amen. Same here, man. It's a constant juggle to try to fit everything in, but somehow we manage to do it.
Right.
So, Mark, why don't you give the introduction to Moultrie Mobile? Most people, most hunters, and especially our listeners, know and understand what it is, but it's been a pretty unique evolution and origin where it comes from. So, if you want to give them kind of that spiel here, we'll talk about Moultrie Mobile, and then we'll dive into the Delta Cam.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, so at the core of it, Moultrie Mobile is a cellular trail cam system. So as many of your listeners know, it works like a traditional trail cam in the fact that it detects motion, takes a photo or video, and then through cellular technology, which on the Moultrie Mobile platform is Verizon and AT&T, it transmits those images as well. With the Delta, it also transmits video clips via that cellular signal to a cloud-based server. And so all your images are stored free of charge on the Moultrie Mobile app, so you can access via your smartphone, or you can use a computer and log in that way. And your images are always there. That's one thing with the Moultrie Mobile system that we're proud of, is your images are not deleted after a month, after 2 months. There's no extra charge. I've been on the system personally since 2016. I still have all my images on there dating back. So I have historical references. I can go back and look at specific bucks. It's really cool to have that backlog of data. And it's going to be there. Even when you cancel your plan, once season's over, all those photos are there 24/7 for you to access. So, even if you're not paying a monthly fee because it's, the off season, you still have those photos. So if you want to go back and do some studying, you can absolutely do that. But yeah, Moultrie Mobile, it kicked off, I believe around 2014. And, that was using the early cellular technology, maybe 1-2G technology. And then we transitioned into 3G technology with our field modems that were really popular. And the field modems hook up to your regular Moultrie camera to make those a cellular trail cam. And then now with the units going back a couple years now, they're all on the 4G network. So, fast, reliable speeds. Again, you can choose Verizon or AT&T. And, one of the big questions we get is, people will ask, hey, my cell phone is Sprint, or it's, another carrier that's not AT&T and Verizon. And so people often ask, hey, can I use those cameras, or do you carry a Sprint camera? And the best thing about Moultrie Mobile, you don't have to worry about that. Nothing goes through your cell provider. So whatever your cell phone is completely separate. Everything's handled through Moultrie Mobile. Very simple process. Your credit card, debit card is stored. And when you want to receive images, you just simply activate the device. It will auto bill each month. You'll be charged the fee for whichever plan you choose. And then when you're ready to cancel, you just cancel it. And again, none of it has any bearing on your cell phone. So you would just simply want to pick Verizon or AT&T based on which one gets the best service where you'll be using it, whether it's for hunting or security and everything like that. But yeah, once an image is transmitted, like I said, it goes to the cloud-based server. You then go on the app or go on the computer, and you can access all your images, and you can tell that camera, what to do from the app. That's the other cool thing, is all of your settings are run from the Moultrie mobile app or the website, whichever you choose to use. So if you're at home and you don't like the settings you've set and your camera's 2 hours away, you just hop on the app and with a few clicks, you can change all your settings. It's all you can put it whatever the setting options are. You can change it, hit save. Next time that camera checks in, it's going to upload those new settings. So maybe you didn't have a delay on or something, and you got a camera on a feeder or a food plot, and there's just tons of deer coming in there, and you're getting redundant photos of does, and you're like, man, I really don't want to look at all these images. You can hop on that app and set that setting delay to 15 seconds or a minute or whatever, and kind of fine tune what you want to do. But once your images are loaded onto the server, that's where the beauty of Moultrie Mobile comes alive. I mean, the app itself is the heartbeat. It's the core of the system. And there are so many awesome features inside there that help you with your scouting. I mean, at the basic level, you can scroll through your images every day and look at those, what deer are coming in, what turkeys are you getting around turkey season, all that good stuff. But you can fine tune things. We have a number of filters on there that allow you to search through images based on date ranges, moon phases, time of day, stuff like that. And the other aspect of Moultrie Mobile that I find extremely useful is it has AI technology built in. So through artificial intelligence, all of your images, once they upload, they're automatically scanned for a number of species. We have deer on there, so if you just wanted to see deer pics, you could click on that smart tag for deer. If you wanted to just view bucks, you can choose that option. The AI technology actually identifies bucks in the photo and then tags it automatically with that smart tag. You can do does. You can do both, bucks and does, deer. There's a turkey option. And there's also, for security purposes, a lot of our Moultrie Mobile users actually use their cameras for security, for trespassing, remote properties, marinas, RV storage. We actually have built into that, it can detect people and vehicles. So another cool part of that is you can set your notifications based on individual cameras and individual smart tags. So if you had a camera that you used only as security, you could put on that to notify you to actually get a notification on your phone if a person or a vehicle ever shows up in one of those images. So, that's just a little bit of kind of what it can do, but some of the other features built into the app are the interactive maps. So you can go in, pull up your hunting property, you can save that as the default. So every time you click on the map section, it'll take you right to your hunting property. And there's more than 20 different pin options on there, from tree stands to food plots to trail cameras and all that. So you can map out your hunting property and see it on your phone. And, while you're on your property, obviously your phone's using its GPS. So you can, if you find maybe a great rub line or scrape line in an area, you can drop a pin while you're on your property using that interactive maps for that. So that's just another tool, a free tool built into the app. And one of the ones that just launched is called activity charting. And that's the one that I am most excited about. Our team has been working on this for a long time. And so each time your camera uploads an image, there's a number of data points that go along with that. You have time of day, you have temperature readings, and you have the moon phase. So what that will do, and you also have the smart tags, so bucks, does, things like that. And activity charting automatically pulls that data in when your images upload. You don't have to do a thing. And you can go in, and if you want to look by individual camera, maybe you want to look at all your cameras because maybe all your cameras are on one property. You kind of want to get a composite look of when deer movement's happening. You can go in and click and see what time deer are moving, or as well as turkey. So you could select turkey, say it's turkey season and you only want turkey data. You can click the turkey smart tag It'll show you all your data, when they're coming in, what time they're coming in, and it gives it to you in easy to read graphs and pie charts. And all of those are clickable, so you can individually click, say you got a lot of movement in the morning, you can click on that time frame and it'll break down which cameras are getting that movement. You can show if it's bucks, does, things like that. And there's also a custom tag feature in Moultrie Mobile. If you have an individual buck that you're really watching and hunting, you can create a custom tag, like, so say you've named him Big 8 or whatever his name is. You can create that tag and it will live then on the app. And every time you get a picture of that deer, you can click that Big 8 smart tag that you've created, and you can actually then use activity charting based off of Big 8 smart tags. So you can literally track individual deer with this technology, and it's mind blowing. Guys are really going to figure out some cool ways to use it, and I'm excited to see how different hunters around the country use that application.
Well, it's crazy how powerful the Moultrie mobile app is. So going over it again to recap for our listeners, within the app, it not only stores all your photos, but you can catalog them. Right before this, Mark, we were talking about photo organization and how by organizing your content, you can really get a good line on specific deer, understand their movements and their patterns. And within the app itself, you have the ability to track activity. You have the ability to sort per specific deer or species generally. And then diving into it even more, you can use the map feature to interact furthermore. It has a weather app built into it as well. And then on the fly, you can adjust your camera settings as you see fit. It's all right there in the app, one spot. It's pretty powerful stuff.
It's truly amazing. And, I'm just blown away with, what our team, we've got a whole team of software engineers and guys that work on this stuff, guys and girls. And these are very smart people. They're way above my level, and I'm just blown away with what they can do with this technology. And I'm not joking. The sky's the limit. I'm excited to see what the near future holds for features that they're rolling out through the Moultrie mobile app. And I always stress to people, like, once you use it, you get it. Like, your whole mind change switches on trail cameras once you hop into the cellular trail cam, and then once you start using the Moultrie mobile system specifically. And for all your viewers, if they've never tried it, they can go to moultriemobile.com and or download the app. The app's free. You can download the app on your phone, and you can actually demo live versions of this app. So, our engineers, they have cameras out in the field that feed live into this demo version. So you can use the activity charting, you can use the smart tags, and just get a feel for how the system works. So it's truly one of those deals. You can try it before you buy it. Now, the app is free, so you're not buying the app, but before you jump into the Moultrie mobile system, before you buy a camera, any of that, you can try the system out.
Well, I will allude to one thing, and then Grant's going to hit you up about the Delta Cam. I think one of the things that stands out amongst other things is the notification feature. If you're in the Midwest specifically, we've got really healthy deer populations and turkey populations, and we don't have our notifications turned on every time. However, utilizing it for only getting a notification, say if you want a human. If you're in an area where you have a problem with trespassers, typical morning routine for me is wake up, get ready to go to the gym, check Moultrie Mobile. But I want to know if somebody's out there, on one of our properties or leases, and you can actually set it to give you a notification. That way, if you do unfortunately have somebody out there that shouldn't be, you'll know right away and be able to respond rather than just checking it on the fly. And if you check it too late, you might miss the opportunity to kind of talk to the guy or give him his due service and maybe get him a ticket or something,
I've checked out
100%.
I've checked out 4 different, competitive brands in terms of the software as well, Mark, and by far Moultrie is the most powerful with the integration of the filter system. Lots of people are several years behind you guys. I mean, you guys were one of the pioneers when it comes to developing this technology, and I think it really shows when you pit your app against a competitor's app. And I just am very impressed with, like the other day, like Garrett was saying, we categorize all of our trail camera videos and pictures on our laptops. So we don't have hardly any of them on our phones that, we can show friends. But I can get on the Moultrie mobile app. I can go and filter by date from November 15th to November 30th. And then I can click the buck filter. And then I can see all of the bucks that we had to hunt last year that were coming in within that time frame. So kudos to you guys on the app. It's very easy to use, and it's very intuitive for the user as well. So getting into the Delta Cam, Mark, it's marketed right now as one of the most powerful cellular cameras that you guys have ever developed. So what makes that ring true? How is it different? Give us the skinny on the new Delta Cam.
Yeah, no, and thank you for that feedback on the app. We appreciate you saying that and giving us that feedback. That's great to hear. Yeah, so the Delta is all new. It's literally, I mean, just come out, just been available, and so our general manager, he challenged our team with the Delta and said, let's not just go back and tweak some past camera models and put in some upgrades. Let's look at this from the ground up. How can we build a camera that's reliable, that delivers, that has all the features you want, and is a quality camera? And so that's how they started with the Delta in engineering and designing it. And so, some of the first things you'll notice on it, 32 megapixel images, which is, extremely quality image. Again, just touching on the technology, it's every year the technology is advancing more and more, and that's showing up in the cell cams. And so you've got the 32 megapixel images. One of the things that I like about the Delta, and I know others are going to like, is in our past Moultrie mobile cameras, they would take video and it would be stored on the SD card, but it would not transmit that video. With the Delta, you now can get 15-second video clips transmitted, to your app. So that's a big feature that I'm excited about. And the way those work is, if you have it set to take, you can have it set to take an image and a video at the same time. And when it uploads that thumbnail, it'll have a little play button in it, so that it's a video. And instead of just being able to play that, you would then request, hey, I want to see this video. So if you got a nice buck standing in that image, you're like, yeah, I'd like to see this video.
Right.
or maybe some turkey strutting. You then just click on that and request it, and the next time the camera checks in, it will send that video. So then all you do is go back to that same thumbnail, and that's when it will have the play button on it. I said play button earlier, but once the video uploads, it will have the play button. You can click on it, and it's got sound. So I'm really excited about turkey season with the video mode.
Yeah, so similar to like the high resolution request, right, Mark? So you can request it.
Absolutely.
And then when just like you said, when that camera touches base again with the app or the server, boom, you'll have it available.
You'll have it, and that's exactly right. And the high res images still work the same way, so you can get that high res version off the camera. But some of the other features you'll see on the Delta is we went to the external antenna, the power boost antenna. So you guys know, in a lot of hunting areas, cellular coverage isn't always the best. So we wanted to make sure this camera had, all capabilities to pull in a signal. Now, don't get me wrong. If there's no service, it's not going to fix that. But if there's limited service, we do have the external antenna to help pull in that signal, to give you a good quality signal so you can get your images and videos. Another aspect that this camera has built into it, that's a first for Moultrie Mobile, is it has built-in GPS. So
big time.
Yeah, so when you go, so if you click on your app in the Moultrie mobile app and you click on the interactive maps, your camera will now show up exactly where it's at on that map. And so that's super cool because you can put the camera up and it's going to be there. So when you go to your property to look at things, you're going to see your cameras throughout the landscape. And if that camera moves and it's still on, you're going to see where that camera is existing. So if it's removed from the property and it's somewhere else turned on, you're going to see that and know where that is. So that's a big deal, and that's something our customers were definitely asking for as well. But in the Delta 2, they've worked on battery life, so it does have extended battery life over older models. So that's another positive. And those are just some of the features built into the Delta. Like I said, where it's been built from the ground up to be a better, more reliable, just powerful camera.
So what I think is amazing is the price point of it, Mark. You've got before we even touch on how the price point is, you've got two of the major networks that have national coverage that this camera's run on. You've got a 32 megapixel camera. Okay, we're not even talking about cellular here. We're just talking about the nuts and bolts of the thing. 32 megapixel. It's got a 35.35 second trigger speed, which is very quick. You've got long battery life. It's got an adaptive trigger system that we didn't talk about, which I thought was very cool to help minimize with blank photos. And then on top of it, you've got a GPS feature. So if somebody does decide to steal your camera, as soon as they turn it on, you know exactly where they're at. And all this for $99.99.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. For $100, you're getting, just even if it was a standalone camera, you're getting a 32 megapixel camera that takes video with sound, that has a 0.35 trigger speed and built-in GPS. I mean, wow, that's a heck of a bargain.
Well, I totally agree, and it makes it hard when you're sitting there deciding, okay, I'm here to buy a trail cam. Why in the world am I not going to try the cellular option? Granted, there is a monthly fee for the cellular transmission, but if you're running it during hunting season, you're talking about a few months time, and on an unlimited plan, you're really talking about $16-17 a month for unlimited images. I mean, it's really hard to pass up the opportunity at that price, and I don't know if it's still going on, but Bass Pro Shops and some others had sales going on where it was $79.99 for Father's Day, and gosh, that was exciting. The cameras are definitely being well received in the marketplace.
Well, and I also think it's important to note that you have some pretty economical packages as well, as low as $5 a month. So really, if you look at it, it's a heck of a camera for $100. And then you've got some really economical packages, and I think if you're one of those guys that's really budget conscious, you can change these plans, and forgive me if I'm wrong, month to month, I believe, right? So if November rolls around or hunting season rolls around and you want to boost it up to unlimited, you can roll unlimited for 3 or 4 months and then dial it back down as you see fit per activity or your use of the farm.
You're 100% correct on that, and that's one of the things that just makes Moultrie Mobile easy. You're never tied in. There's no contract. There's nothing like that. There's never an activation fee, and there's never a cancellation fee. So when you're done and you're like, all right, my hunting season's over, you just get on the app, hit cancel, and when it comes to the renew date for that monthly plan, it will cancel. Then at that point, you'll no longer be charged. And like I said, there's no activation fees, no cancellation. So it's truly designed for the customer, the hunter. I mean, we designed this for the user. We want it to be simple. We want it to be easy, and we want it to be pain-free. And we don't want a bunch of hoops you have to jump through to make it happen. You can just go in, click the buttons, do everything you need to do. And even, you mentioned the budget-minded person, I'm that way. And through the settings, you can manipulate your settings to really stretch those images out. So even if you were on a smaller plan that wasn't unlimited, through using detection delay and other things like that, you can easily squeeze out the number of images you want to get per month and what you're wanting to pay for.
That's a good point to bring up too, Mark. I mean, just like we've been touching on here, I feel like it's when looking at competitive models, I just don't think you can get the features that we're talking about, specifically the use of the app and the quality
Right.
and the depth and how well the app is thought out for that amount of money. If you're paying $200 or $300, $400 even sometimes for a different brand of cell cam, that's going to have wireless capability. With you guys having the leading app, in my opinion, I just don't know why anyone would, use a different camera. So
Absolutely. No, I agree 100% with you. We want it to be easy. We want it to be enjoyable. We want people to look at Moultrie Mobile and say, this is a tool I need for hunting. It literally ups my game. So that's what we're after.
So really quick, Mark, a couple of things that some of the listeners were curious about is any tips or tricks to kind of help maximize. Now, we talked about this before, but I think a big one is batteries. I know that Moultrie usually sends out, information in the manuals and in the cameras, but what are some good tricks or some good practices, if somebody does invest in the Moultrie system, that they can do to make sure they got a good experience with it?
Well, I appreciate you bringing that up, because that is one of the biggest things that when I talk to people, they're usually surprised, because let's face it, when you get a cellular camera, say you're new to it and you put it out, I mean, you want to see those images and you want to get them immediately. And then you start seeing the deer coming in. You're like, oh my gosh, he's in front of my stand right now. Like, you're looking at it. It's addicting. And I know it is, but just to kind of help folks understand, each time that camera connects via cellular network to the cloud, that's a big power draw. So that camera is using a good deal of power each time it does that. And if you're set to immediate to get those images as soon as they're taken, you're asking that camera to connect every single time it takes an image. Well, that's going to use batteries at a much faster rate than if you simply set it. There's settings in there where you can do it. I tend to run mine 1 to 2 uploads per day. So regardless of the number of pictures it takes, my camera is only going to upload once or twice a day. And what it does, so that connection is the big power draw, but sending multiple images during that connection is a much less power draw. So you're getting the benefits of extending your battery life by doing a limited amount of uploads versus immediate. So like I say, I recommend 1 to 2. And then another factor is running a detection delay, especially if you're on a high traffic area. So if you have a camera on a feeder, I mean, there's going to be animals coming to that feeder. And, chances are they're going to hang there for probably 10, 15 minutes. And you're going to get redundant images, especially of does, bucks, stuff like that, raccoons. If you set that camera to a detection delay on those high traffic areas, say, 1 minute, maybe you set it up to 5 minutes, even if it's really an active spot. And I've got some areas where it's more does coming in anyways and not a lot of buck activity. So I'll bump that to 5 minutes because I'm not worried about missing something. That's going to help reduce the number of images that camera's taking. And, if that camera's taking night images, it's using a flash. So that's a power draw. And then, while video mode is extremely popular and people like it, again, video mode is going to be that requires more power to create those videos, to record it and write it. So, if you're really wanting to conserve battery life, I would recommend do photo only. Don't use a burst mode. Don't use 3 bursts. Use 1 photo. Do a detection delay. And then also, another thing is, if you can see your images fine and you're not so worried about having a super high res image, because, let's face it, a real high res image is more for like if you're going to blow it up for printing or something like that, set that down to a medium or low, range, because that's less data it's having to write on the SD card. And while that may seem like a small thing, when you're talking lots of images over the course of a month, that actually makes a big deal. So doing that will help. And then regularly formatting your SD card does a big deal too. And the cool thing is you can do all that from the app. You can format the card from the app. And the reason the formatted card helps is, every time that camera's checking in, it scans that card. So if you have lots and lots of images on there or videos, it's got to scan that each time. So if you're, regularly formatting that SD card, that camera spends a lot less time scanning through looking for the new images. So those are kind of my tips that I recommend and that I utilize, and you can really extend that battery life. But if you're set on running immediate and video and all that, then I would definitely recommend one of the external power options, which this year we came out with a 12-volt battery box. It's a weatherproof battery box, has the 12-volt rechargeable battery in it, and it has 2 solar panels built on top of that. So as long as you're not in the deep woods where you're not getting sunlight, if you're on a field's edge, somewhere where you can get some amount of sunlight through the day. I've been testing a couple of those myself at my place, and I put one of those battery boxes in late January on a modem and a camera, so it's actually running dual power. So the camera is using power and the modem, and both of the camera and the modem to this day, from late January, and I haven't changed a battery, they're at 100%. So I mean, wow. and that's on a field's edge now, so it's getting full sunlight, it's taking full advantage of it, but that camera is still sending me pictures, and it just blows my mind. So I'm definitely will be outfitting some more of my cameras with those this year.
Well, and I think it's important to note, just like you said, whether you play with your settings or not, when your battery's running low, the beautiful thing about the Moultrie mobile app and the camera system is that you can tell. You should never go back out to a dead cellular camera, because you'll be able to monitor the battery life from your phone. And when your batteries start to get low, it's time to change it. And then also referencing the format your card, you can do that and not be afraid of losing those images because they're stored in the Moultrie app, in the Moultrie cloud.
Absolutely.
So,
and that's a good point. And I'll say this now, if there's a particular video or something on there, maybe you want, and like you said, you can get the high res image, but maybe you had a longer video or something like that. If there's something on there, you will want to pull that card before formatting if there's something you want to pull off of it. But otherwise, like, it's nothing I ever do. So I regularly, about every 2 weeks, format my card right there from my app, and I'm not worried about losing anything, because yes, it's on the cloud and it's there. But if you do format the card and there was an image that you didn't get a high res image of, you won't then be able to request that, because it obviously won't be on the card anymore. So
right.
Just that little caveat.
Right. Well, so I think, Mark, the hit-home message here is that the Moultrie mobile app is a standalone cellular camera app. It is incredibly powerful. It has a lot of features that are going to unlock so much stuff for the user, that are going to be data-friendly, data-intense, that's going to help them dive as deep as they want to into their cameras. And then the new Delta Cam is an incredible camera, and especially for the money. Anything else you want to add is this Delta Cam and its launch, and any other accolades or some other notes you'd like to add?
Well, I mean, I would just encourage, especially if there's someone out there, they've never tried out the Moultrie mobile system or anything like that, I just really encourage them, download the free app and check out that demo version. I mean, it is a live version with real cameras that are out in the woods, and you can use all the. There's no hidden features on the. It's the demo version is the full version of the app, and I just encourage folks to go use that, and because we can talk about it all day, but it kind of the aha moment is once you're in it and you're using it, and you're like, wow, okay, I really see how this is going to help me this fall. So I would say that if you're curious, you're interested, download that free app and go check out the demo app and just get familiar with it. See if it's something you like. See how you like it.
All right. Well, now we're getting into the segment. We do this with a lot of our listeners. It's the Would You Rather. Grant is the guru. I've got the first one for you here. So, Mark, would you rather, and this is whitetail hunting, would you rather hunt whitetails in November in Iowa or Illinois?
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to go with this answer. I would rather do it in Iowa because I've done it in Illinois, and I spent 5 cold days on a stand and didn't get one. So.
What? Wow. What part of Illinois,
Let's see. We were close to it was on the west side. I think we were probably within like 50 miles or so of Quincy, in that area along the river.
Okay, that's a good area right down there. Man, did you see some deer?
Don't get me wrong. I saw some great deer, but it was a bow hunt, and I had some really nice young deer, 3.5-year-olds that were close, and I saw one walker at about 200 yards, but he wasn't coming in. So nothing against Illinois. I would just like to see some different area.
Amen, man. And Iowa's got some hammers too.
Right. That's my only reason is just, hey, I spent 5 days sitting there in the cold, so let's spend 5 days somewhere else. That's the only reason.
Okay, Mark, my next one for you is, would you rather harvest a 140-inch roughly drop tine buck, so that is including his drop tine, or a 160 typical?
Oh man, I would. I know drop tines are a big deal, and don't get me wrong, I like them, but man, I'm a typical fan, and I would go with the 160 typical for sure.
Sure, that's a hard one. It depends on how long the drop tine is for me.
Right. Yeah. No. I guess with managing deer and shooting mature bucks, that would be the biggest dependent is that drop tine buck mature or not? Because if he's a beautiful 3.5-year-old, I'm gonna have to let him walk.
Sure. Next one.
So the last one we got for you, Mark, is would you rather go hand fishing or catching rattlesnakes?
Wow. So okay. So you're kind of playing on all fears here, right? So I have not done the noodling. I would be up for it. It looks interesting, but I will admit I'm pretty leery about sticking my hand in some hole underwater, just waiting on it to get bit. So in my youth, I've actually caught plenty of rattlesnakes. I know their limitations. I'm right there. I'm guessing I can probably use a stick to help catch it. So yeah, I'm going with catching the rattlesnake.
I didn't even think about that because you're down south. You guys have them pretty regular. We don't have no timber rattlers, no really poisonous snakes other than an occasional water moccasin up here.
Oh yeah, no, in fact, here in our neighborhood, they have been out lately. The timber rattlers. We back up to a state park, and there's a big rocky mountain just behind us. And man, the rabbits are abundant this year, and the rattlesnakes have followed them into the neighborhood.
Well, anyway, Mark, this is kind of coming to a close. We really appreciate you jumping on. I'll touch base with you after we wrap it up here in the end. But again, thanks for giving us your time. We're excited about this one. I know that the listeners are excited to hear about the new cameras. And again, if there's anything else you want to say, let us know. But other than that, we'll talk to you very soon.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, guys. I really do appreciate it, and always happy to talk hunting.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
That's a lot of info. GPS too. That's pretty incredible.
That's,
GPS on a camera.
I know we know what we know by talking to them,
right.
Via emails and on the phone and stuff. But then it's like, man, when you put it all out there on one plate, it's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And we honestly don't really even maximize the Moultrie mobile app as we should. Now that these new features are coming out, it's going to make us use them more. But like the example being of the notification thing, we turned our notifications off because for sleeping, right?
Right. Yeah.
You'd be 1 a.m, it's like, oh God. But for being able to even manipulate the notification specific to whatever you want, like I already know,
a buck
or trespassers, right? I mean, we had a freaking trespasser out this spring mushroom hunting, and it's like, we didn't have it on notification, and now knowing that, you'll know instantly and be able to react accordingly. And other things that are involved. And then the fact that the Delta Cam's coming out for $100 and it's chock full of features, it's gonna be pretty wild to see. Oh shoot! I forgot to ask him about the ban in Arizona and what he thought about it. I'll have to ask him. I wonder what he'd say. I'm definitely not a fan of it.
I would assume probably pretty anti.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, let's run through these other things really quick. And then, because this one's getting up there. What are we at right now for recording?
1:15.
1:15. So we don't want to bore you guys to death, but I do think there's some cool things that we do with our cameras that we want to recircle back to the original hunt cast that we were talking about. So, main core areas where we put them.
Field entrances, scrape trees, main trails, stand locations. And we're not putting our cameras actually on the physical tree that we're hunting. We're typically putting it on a trail that leads to or from the deer stand that we're hunting. So I see that occasionally when I'm walking around on public ground or something like that. The guys, for whatever reason, sometimes have a camera hung on the tree that they'll be hunting, and we just don't really necessarily like doing that. We like our stand to be very, very incognito, as we mentioned in our last podcast all about tree stands. That was episode number 102. And then dictating on the location of the camera is going to be, the camera that we actually choose. So we're not going to necessarily waste a cell camera on an area that has less traffic. Meaning, if we've found a bedding area and we think we know where a buck is living specifically, we're probably not going to burn a cell camera on that specific trail.
Maybe.
If there's like a low amount of deer using it, unless we have one handy. We're going to more so try to capture a large, high-volume area in which we can monitor many deer, more bang for the buck with a cell camera. But if we have one, we have snuck them into some sketchy areas before.
I think it's just we constantly bounce our cameras around, I think at first, cell cameras are fantastic for places that you don't want to pressure, We try to put them in one of two spots. One, first and foremost, where we want to have the most data at our fingertips that we can. But then secondly, where they're more difficult to check. If you can go and drive your truck or your side-by-side or your ATV up to a camera, it's maybe not a good spot to use a cell cam because you can get to it so easily and low impact. Mm-hmm. And then maybe try to think, okay, well, I got this stand location on this timber, knoll, or this bluff, and it's kind of a bitch to get to, and I don't want to send it up checking it every 2 or 3 weeks. That might be a good spot for one too. But man, we bounce them around pretty regularly, especially our cell cams. Our cell camera, if you were to watch our GPS, it's like maybe even as much as 1 or 2 times a week in November. It's like, nope, not here. Move it onto this scrape. Oh, nope, not here. Put it onto this fence crossing.
We have about 3 cellular cameras that typically don't move all year just because of their location, but then we've got another couple that are moving, and I wouldn't say they're at a particular location for longer than 2 weeks at any given time during out deer season. So as scrapes pop up, as rubs pop up, as deer start becoming more frequent on some of our food plots, then that's when we take those cameras and we stretch them up the trail and we try to locate, okay, this is the jump off point. Like our cameras on our food sources are like the diving board into the pool. Now I want to find out how the deer got to the pool. How did that kid get through the gate to get inside the public pool? I want to figure that out. So we'll take those cameras and stretch them up the trail to try to find an area where we can ambush them if they're not making it to a food source in time for us to kill them within daylight.
Right. And it's crazy, talking out loud. If you listen to our previous podcast, we talked about how we've become reactive hunters. And I think we've done that with our trail cameras too. We would almost probably move our trail cameras prior to moving a stand and let that give us the data to justify the move, to make the ambush, to hopefully get the kill. And it's been really interesting to see how we've evolved using trail cameras to help us analyze the data. Now with cell cameras to get data more readily and then target it and attack it. It's not one of those things. A lot of people argue the cell camera thing where, well, you get a notification on your sitting on your couch and you go out there and kill them. Man, we've talked about it before. That takes a very unique situation during the right time of the year to be able to do that. I don't think it'd be hard pressed for anyone, even if you lived on your farm, if you got a picture from a camera in November of a deer, you'd be able to go out there and sneak up on him and him still be in the same spot, even if you're mobile within 10 minutes. A deer can move a long way in 10 minutes, But I don't know. Anyway, trail cameras are fantastic. We love them. I hope that Illinois never bans them. I've sure gotten conditioned to using them. I appreciate the photos. I love watching the deer grow. I like getting the cat and mouse game of hunting a specific couple deer or several deer and then trying to figure them out and go target them. I feel like without trail cameras, it would be a lot harder to kind of have that hit list and to develop that history with the deer and kind of that story that we like to build with the animals we harvest. It definitely would go back to a little simpler way of hunting, maybe where you're shooting deer now that check the box, that get the heart beating, rather than waiting for a couple of those deer, that are out there. But I don't know.
I think for management purposes that a trail camera has revolutionized deer hunting.
Yeah.
For the age structure of a deer.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest piece of advice we could give you on trail cameras and just hunting in general is not necessarily a pointed piece of advice where we are saying, do this and you will kill deer. But I think in a nutshell, what leads us to kill a lot of deer is just being very scientific in our approach. So the scientific method, I actually have it pulled up right now. If you're a fan of any science class you've ever been before, the first step is to observe. So you and I will say, why are deer coming out there? Okay, that's the question. We'll question that. We'll do some research. We'll go hunting and we'll say, okay, I think maybe this is the reason why. And then we will form a hypothesis and say, I think this could be why. Then we'll test our hypothesis. We'll move our stand. We'll move a trail camera in after collecting that data, and then we will see what happens. Oh shit, a deer winded us. Uh-oh, a deer didn't get here on time. Uh-oh, the deer wasn't here tonight. I wonder what happened. And then by testing that, we will draw a conclusion and try to rehypothesize and start it all over again. And I think by asking those questions and just continuing to say, why did this happen? I'm going to try to test it for myself is one of the things that can lead you to leading a pretty good time out in the woods, hunting specifically, just because you're saying you're not taking anything on the nth degree of the piece of advice you've heard. So I think that's kind of what makes us all right at killing deer. So,
well, wrapping this up, episode 104, 5, and 6 are going to be the other 3 episodes to this whitetail series. Expect to hear about the phenology of a whitetail, right? The life cycle, understanding how a deer moves and thinks throughout the year. We're going to talk about calling, and this was actually a fan listener request. So we're going to cover not only rattling, but grunting and some snort wheezing, other types of calling, and then land manipulation. And not so much food plots, but really managing your property outside of food plots specifically and monocrop to really benefit the habitat, the deer, the herd, and your effectiveness as a hunter. So we've told you about the launch party. We want to see you there. And other than that, Mr. Putnam, what do you got?
No, that's pretty much it. We'll catch you next time. And in the meantime, don't waste it.